Okay, so this is the last part of chapter 2. So on the first part, we talked about the law of demand. Then we talked about the law of supply. We talked about the equilibrium, and this is the last one, surplus and shortage for this chapter. Okay, so in a competitive market, surplus and shortage can happen when there are changes. Kung na ay mga changes sa um, supply and the demand in the same supply and demand schedule. Okay, kung ay mga movements na hitabo. So you have to remember that aside from the price or presyo, there are other factors or determinants or shifters that may cause the demand or supply curves to shift. Diba? Shift to the left or shift to the right. So as a recap, the shifters of demand are the changes in taste and preferences, increase in income, changes in consumer speculation, changes in the size of population. For the supply part, the shifters of supply are the changes in the number of sellers, the changes in cost of production, changes in technology, changes in government policies. So those are the changes. Now, what is surplus actually? So surplus happens or it is experienced when the price of a good is above the equilibrium point. So remember, we talked about equilibrium. Equilibrium is where the supply and the demand curve meet at a certain price. Okay? So if ang price is already above the equilibrium point, meaning there is already a surplus. Surplus meaning daghan ang saman, unsa may daghan? Daghan ang supply kaysa sa gikinahanglan, sobra. On the other hand, shortage is when the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied, meaning daghan ang gikinahanglan kaysa sa supply nga naa sa market. Okay, so that is shortage. Now, if you're going to show it in a graphical representation, so this is how it is going to look like. First, remember, if you are going to create a graph, you have to make sure that you have your price here, right? This is the vertical line. Horizontal line is your quantity. So zero is always here. For the price, zero going up. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, dili kay 0, 8, 7, 6, 5. No, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's for the price. For the quantity, from 0, increasing po na siya. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. Okay, and then your supply curve is always upward sloping. Okay, pwede na siya dire, pwede na siya dire. So it's always upward. Now, if we are going to combine it with the demand curve, we have here the demand curve that is downward sloping. Okay, so this is your demand. Now, if we're going to let's say, pick the price. So if the price is 6, if the price is 6, your quantity supplied is what? 12, di ba? This is your 6. Asa man siya mo touch sa supply curve, diri downward, you will get the quantity supplied. So price is 6, quantity supplied is 12. Now, if we're going to put the demand here, if the price is 6 sa demand curve, man siya mo touch, diri going downward, your quantity demanded is 8. So if we are going to combine the two, okay, so if your price is 6, your quantity demand supplied is 12. If your price is 6, your quantity demanded, that is, this is the point where it touches the demand curve, your quantity demanded is 8. So P is equals to 6, QD is equals to 8, P is equals to 6, QS is equal to 12. This is what is called surplus, okay? Because QS and QS is 12, QD is 8, and this condition is what we call surplus because the QS, the quantity supplied, is greater than the quantity demanded sa 8. Okay? So this is your demand. Always refer to the line. 6 ang imong price, asa siya mo touch, drawing a straight line, asa siya mo touch sa demand curve, then you go find the value on this axis. So you'll get the quantity demanded. The price of 6 goes, draw a straight line going to your supply curve, and then you project it downward, you get the quantity supplied of 12. So this is the surplus here. If the price is above the equilibrium, why? Where is the equilibrium here? Equilibrium is where the supply and the demand meet, and this is where your equilibrium. At price 5, this is your equilibrium. Now, the price that we chose is 6, which is above the equilibrium, so therefore it is a surplus, right? So, let's say for example, if we pick price 2, if the price is 2, quantity supplied is 4, because this is your supply curve. This is where it touches the supply curve and you have the quantity as 4. Now, if we put the demand, if we go to the demand curve, same position, if your price is 2, where it touches the demand curve, 16. So your quantity demanded is 16. If we put them together, okay, so you'll see price is 2, quantity demanded is 16. If the price is 2, the quantity supplied is 4. And what happens? The price is 2, QS is 4, QD is 16, and this is what we call shortage. Why? Because Q4 supply is less than the quantity demanded. So short siya. And another thing mailhan mo nga nung shortage siya, it's because the price is below the equilibrium point. So if it's above the equilibrium point, that's surplus. If the price is below equilibrium point, that is shortage. Or in other terms, if there are more supply than the quantity demanded, then that's surplus. If there are less supply than the quantity demanded, then that is shortage, right? Okay, so this is where your equilibrium point, this is the surplus part here. Above the equilibrium is a surplus. Below the equilibrium is shortage. So even if ang price nimo is 3, short gihapon siya. If 4, short gihapon siya. Pag sa 5, equilibrium. So balance. So any price above 5, that's 6, 7, and 8, those are surplus. Okay, so patungaon na nimo diha kini equilibrium. Above ana surplus, below is shortage. Okay, so hence, if QS is greater than QD, meaning quantity supplied is daghan kaysa sa quantity demanded, there is surplus. And if quantity supplied is less than quantity demanded, there is a shortage in the market. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So, with that, we are actually able to, or governments actually do intervention, no? If there is surplus or there is shortage, na intervention nga himo ng government. So sometimes the government sets price floor or price ceiling on commodities. Okay, this intervention in the market could bring about surplus or shortage. Price floor and price ceiling refers to the lowest and the highest possible price of a product respectively. Okay, pag minutong price floor, that is already the lowest price nga pwede ay presyo anang a product. Pag ceiling price, price ceiling, mo na siya pinaka taas nga presyo nga pwede nimong ipresyo sa product. Okay? So remember, price floor, pinakagamay nga presyo pwede nimo i-price sa product. Price ceiling is the highest price nga pwede nimong i-price sa isa ka product. Okay, so example of a government intervention here. This is this figure. Government sets a price floor. So nagset siya price floor. This is P2 and this is P1. So, if the government says the price floor for example, bugas, that is higher, which is higher daw than the equilibrium, which is P1, then there would be more suppliers willing to produce and sell bugas, no? Kay taas man, 'di ba? The law of supply, the price, as the price goes up, the quantity supplied goes up also. So pag ang kini ang equilibrium and then ang government nag-set kintahay og price floor nga diri so kintahay 5 pesos ni himo niyang 6. So therefore, unsa may mahitabo, daghay supplier nga willing mo produce because the price is high. But because of that, it will actually cause unsa ni surplus, di ba? So, as mentioned earlier, ang government interventions can cause shortage or surplus. Okay, so ginahimo na nila actually, if na surplus, they will put an intervention that will decrease the supply para mag-meet sila mubalik sa equilibrium ang market. Okay, so in this part where the government set the price ceiling, meaning pinakataas na nga price. So, iset niya ang pinakataas. This is the equilibrium price. And then, ang government nag-set of price here, which is less than the equilibrium, meaning ni ubos ang price, right? Ni pababa siya. So therefore, there will be less sellers, no? Daghay gusto mo bili because of the law of demand. If the price decreases, the demand increases. But on the other hand, sa law of supply, if the price decreases, the quantity supplied will also decrease, right? So, kay kung ikaw ang negosyante, kung barato ang presyo, ngano mag-produce magdaghan ana, di ba? Malugi ka. Kung ikaw ang buyer pod, pag barato ang presyo mo, palit kag daghan kay barato siya. So, nasa sa opposite side. Okay, so pag ingani ang himuon sa gobyerno, it is going to cause shortage. Okay? So kintahay surplus na kaayo. So ang himuon sa gobyerno, magbutang siya price ceiling para mules ang mo produce anang a product, mubaba ni sila. Okay? Until mag-meet sila sa equilibrium. So that is price ceiling. Now, another example is the MRT fare and shortage. So sa MRT, if the price one uh, of MRT is 25 pesos, the government set a price ceiling of 15. So price ceiling niya siya. Ang price yun nila is 25 so sa kalakaran because this is the equilibrium. But the government price, the price ceiling o dapat 15 pesos ra imong presyo, unsay mahitabo? So ang mahitabo ana is passengers. So kung ato na siyang i-graph, so there are 20,000 nga maka-afford sa price ceiling kay barato man siya. However, ang ang MRT it can only accommodate 10,000. So mo ni ang supply niya. 10,000 ra ang iyang kayang i-accommodate which is at the price of 25. Okay? So ang mahitabuan na if i i i-pursue ning price ceiling nga dapat 15 ra jud ka, so meaning ang 10,000 katao ray makasit properly and then ang the rest kung gusto gyud nila magtindog sila, right? So or maghulat sila sa next kuan, sa next MRT train. So mao na siya effect sa price ceiling. So ang mahitabo i-adjust na siya o maghulat na lang mo dili mo mosakay because 10,000 ra ang capacity kung sa 15 ta nga price ceiling. Right? So if we're going to analyze the equilibrium changes, we have to consider the following or we have to assume this. So kini nga 8 scenarios ang atong i-assume. So let's start with the first scenario. The supply increases while the demand is constant. Okay, so asa gani ang supply na to? This is our supply. This is our demand. So ingon siya, the supply increases daw while the demand remains constant. So let us first put our graph here. Uh, this is our price and this is our quantity. So we have to put to label our first price as letter A. So mao ni atong first price and mao ni ang atong first quantity. Now, pag miingon ganitag ni move or the supply increases, unsa man ang pag-move sa supply? This is our supply. Move to the right mo increase. So pag nakita ninyo, this one here is the increase because the price decreases ni the supply increases while the demand is constant. So ang demand na to same ra gyapon siya but our supply is increasing. Okay? So this is the first scenario. Pwede ang mahitabo, mo increase ang supply, but the demand is constant. Second scenario is the supply decreases while the demand remain constant. So pag paaro to the left na po ka, this one from here ni move ka here. So ni decrease ang imong supply. Okay? So this is your supply. Ni decrease siya. So you move to the left. The third scenario is the demand increases while the supply remains constant. So demand na pud karon ang ni-increase. So this is our demand curve, this is our supply curve. So our demand is here. Pag shift to the left, from the left to the right is always increase, ha? So ang demand shifted from left to right na ay increase sa demand, but the supply is constant. The same rehapon. Kabaligtaran, the demand decreases while the supply remains constant. So ang movement if ang demand decreases is from right to left. The supply is constant, this is our demand. So here, ni move siya from right to left. Another scenario is increases in both supply and demand. So pwedeng mag-increase ang supply o ang demand sabay, no? Pwede silang magsabay. So if you will notice, this is the supply, it moved to the right. The demand also moved to the right. So there is a sabay nga pag-increase sa supply and demand. Another scenario is decrease in both supply and demand. So kabaligtaran na po siya. Pwede pong mo change sila. So on sa may movement niya, the demand curve will shift from the right to the left. The supply curve will also shift from the right to the left. So that's the decrease. Decrease from right to left. Pag increase gani left to right. Okay? Decrease in supply and increase in demand. So where is our supply? This is our supply. Ang arrow is decrease. So from here, decreasing siya from right to left. While there is an increase in demand. So this is our demand. Asa man ang movement sa demand from left to the right. So therefore, na ay increase. Okay? Alright, so last scenario is increase in supply and decrease in demand. So, meaning, ang supply nato, this is our supply, it moves from left to right, so that's an increase, while our demand moved from right to left, which is a decrease. Okay? So, those are the scenarios when we are going to analyze equilibrium. Right? I hope that's clear. And if you have any questions, just post your questions on our chat and also our classroom.